Dear students, welcome to the e-learning session. This initiative has been started by Cambridge International School, the SUA. Hello, I am Navdeep, working as PGTIP here. Students, we have gone through the number of topics till date. So today we will start a fresh topic. Under the series of operations that we are applying on data frames, today we will apply the deletion operation, that how we are going to delete rows or columns from a data frame. So before going into the details of the topic, just have a recap that what are the topics that we have covered. Descriptive stats. Here in descriptive stats we apply different statistical operations, clear, like mean, median, mode, sum, count, clear. So these were the different functions that we have applied. So what is the benefit of apply these functions is to get out the insights of that very data, to get out that what that data basically contains. So that is also the important part of data analysis. Students, next we move to the topic aggregate and group by functions. Now the aggregate, like the sum operation, clear, count operation, that any operation that we apply on a data that is contained in a group, clear. So that operation is not working on a standalone value, but that is operation is applicable on a number of values. So that is, we see it as a aggregation operation. So the same operation, these two operations are available in database also. Group by, so what, like we take the example of NBA, like the National Basketball Association in America. So in that sort of a file, we have seen that there are number of teams are there. So we can analyze the data based on the groups. Like groups, we can formulate the group based on the teams. So we have different teams in that file, and we can group the data based on that, and then we can apply the operations on that data. So we can analyze that data in a better way also, depending upon the scenario. Finally, the third topic we applied is sorting. Clear? So you know that that is very basic operation, that how to sort the data in a data frame in the ascending and in the descending order. Clear? So by default, the data is sorted in the ascending order. So by applying and passing the parameter, we can arrange the same data in the descending order also. So these were the functions that were the part of that descriptive functions. Then we moved to the aggregation. That is, the exact definition is the aggregation function is used to aggregate using one or more operations over the specified axis, where we have x-axis and y-axis. Group by, so this function is used to split the data into groups, like we gave the example of based on the teams in the NBA file. The abstract definition of grouping is to provide a mapping of labels to the group names. So basically our main purpose here is to arrange the data in the groups. Then we discussed that how to sort the pandas data frame. So here basically students, we covered with these different operations. So like these four methods we have basically gone through. First, by default, is the arranging the data in the ascending order. The second one is that arranging the same data in the descending order. Then we can pick up multiple columns also for sorting also, that we take the example of that cars data, where we discuss the different models, clear, and depending upon we discuss two scenario, clear, for multiple columns, scenario 1 and scenario 2. Then students, moving on to the today's topic, deleting. So similarly we can delete some of the columns that we don't require. We can delete the rows also that we don't require. So Python is a great language for doing analysis. primarily because of the fantastic ecosystem of data-centric Python packages. So Python provides number of packages. Presently, we are working in the Pandas package. Panda is one of those packages and makes importing and analyzing data much more easier. So presently, students, we are getting familiar with the Pandas package. What happens in the deletion operation exactly? Pandas provide the data analysis, a way to delete and filter data. So our purpose is sometimes in a bigger file we don't require fewer of the columns. So then we need to delete certain rows or columns also. Rows and columns can be removed using index label or column name using this method. So we'll now move to the Jupyter notebook for making the practical demonstration of the same. Now coming to the Python platform, Jupyter notebook. So first we will do with the create a data frame for the applicability of our new topic. So students, see how today we do this one. We will use something new this time. Dot data frame, and then we will use numpy's arrange method. So students, before doing this one, you all know that first we need to import pandas as pd and import whatever the packages we are using numpy as np. So here we are using the numpy's arrange method with that will create 12 values starting from 0, and we'll use reshape also. Reshape will make the rows and columns, like I need 3 rows and 4 columns. So these 12 elements will be converted into 3 rows and 4 columns, and I will also supply the columns also. Columns equal to, let's say I name the columns. So first column is, let's say, P, the second column is, let's say, Q, the third is, let us say, R, and then finally we have a column named as S. So these are the columns that we are going to use. So let's add should also be in capital. Okay. So all the columns are enclosed in single quotes because these are the string values. So now what we need to do, we can print on this, print df, you run this one, and students, the star means that my program is now running, and soon you will see the output. So what we have done here, we have used arrange method. In that we have used reshape method. Arrange will pick up 12 means 0 to 11 values will be used. Then reshape, it will reshape those values with 3 rows and 4 columns, and the columns, these are the names we have, names or labels we have provided to the columns. So students, so you see that it is taking a bit time. Initially it will take a time, clear, and you see the output soon here. Now you finally see the columns. So these are the values starting from 0 to 11. Why 0 to 11? Because the range function, it will create values from 0 to 11. And remember that range is a function of numpy. So that's why we are using np, not pd here. So remember here data frame is a method of pd, pandas. So that's why I am using pd here. So very important to remember where I am using np, where I am using pd. So this is the vital thing. And then after creating these 12 values with the arrange method, I have used reshape method also side by side. Reshape method, what it will do, it will create 3 rows and 4 columns of these 12 values. So that's why we are finding this my first row is creating having values 0 1 2 3, second row 4 5 6 7, third is like this. So these are the 3 rows and 4 columns. Columns is name I have already provided, and on the left hand most these are my index values. So students, we move to the very first function, that is we'll apply here how to drop a particular column in a data frame. Now how this will be done? So like we'll be using the same, so you can see I will use the same problem here, and you see here how to basically to delete a column in the data frame. So what will be the my syntax for that? So you see here data frame, and then use the method drop, and then supply the columns. So let's say my column is imports. I want to remove Q, and I want to remove R. So these are the columns that I want to remove, and finally you see the output now. So this is the thing I want to do. So, and also I am going to supply the axis. Students, you know that this axis why I am using for deletion of the columns. So you run this one. So there is some error is here. So see what type of error is that I have not basically used the proper syntax. So you see here that codes are started but they are not closed here. So I have to close here also, run it again. So you know whenever you will make some mistake, so this will give you the error. So this was a string literal error. So now you see in the output part. So you see the Q and R are now not present in the data frame. So this is how the basically we have been able to delete the column Q and column R. The same operation, students, we can also do with another statement. So the second method is df dot drop, and you see here I mentioned the columns is equal to whatever the columns I am using in a list. So mention here Q and mention here R in capital. Now I make this one as a comment clear. So I have deactivated, made it non-executable statement. So now I am going to delete a column using the my second method. So here I have specifically mentioned the columns clear. So I have not mentioned here axis. So directly we can also mention the columns by providing the columns to this column parameter. So you can run this one. So you see we are having the same output here. So we can analyze this output in a better way from our PPT also. Moving back to our PPT, students, you see here what we have done. So here we have dropped the column Q and R and mentioned in the first method we have mentioned the example of axis is equal to 1. So what was the meaning of axis is equal to 1? So axis is equal to 1 was that I am mentioning these columns. So these are my index value, these are my columns, and I have specifically mentioned Q and R. So after deletion Q and R, so you are finding out after the drop a new data frame is created. This is my output where you are finding out that only column P and S are there because Q and R have been deleted. So axis 1 represents the column and axis 0 basically represent the rows. This is the my index, or you can say rows. These are represented by axis 0. Coming back to the Jupyter notebook, students, we have applied the operation on the columns. Now see Now we apply on the same operation on the rows also. So we can delete the rows. First we have the our data frame print. We have the same example I have used here and just copied here values for the faster one. So you see here, this is my data frame that I used earlier. So now I want to delete the particular rows. Now how to delete the rows? My task is drop a row by index. So you know that rows are basically represented here by index value 0, 1, 2. So now let's say I want to drop the rows. So df is my data frame dot drop. So I want to drop particular rows. Let's say the first row represented by index value 1, the second row represented by the index value 1. So like this row and this row, students, I want now 0 represent first row and the 1 index value represent the second. So after doing this, just now go to the run option. Now you see, after deletion, students, now I am left with the third row only. So I have been able to drop the first row and the second row. This is a very simple operation. So better we can also see with the help of our PPT diagram. Moving back to the PPT. Now see, students, this was my original data frame. So now with the command drop 0, comma 1. So what does this means? That I want to drop now with this index value the first row and the second row. And this is my original data frame. So after deletion, I am left with this second row only. So after drop, the new data frame is this is my output. So I have been able to drop the row or the index 0 and 1. So this is very simple operation how we are going to delete the rows and columns. Students, the same delete operation we will apply on the files also and on a bigger data frame also, and we'll try with the different combinations in our next lecture. So hope you have understood the topic. It was quite interesting and quite easy also, but still if you have any doubt, you can discuss with me. Now the next, students, you can note down the resources. These are the resources that have been used in uh, the PPTs and examples. So you can refer to these resources. But I mentioned in each of my lecture that don't forget your textbook. So follow your textbook also side by side, because that give you a broader picture of all these topics. And at the end, I thank you all on the behalf of Cambridge International School, Dessau. Thank you very much.